Surfing has been in my blood since the age of 5. This video will examine some of the animals and plants that find their way onto our beaches. The ocean has many moods and should be avoided when it is like this. Big storms drive greasy brown foam onto the shoreline. Storm water flows from streets into the sea. The foam contains a number of solids, including ground up seaweed and tiny floating animals and plants called plankton. There can also be human sewage, dog poo, vomit, viruses and toxic algae that thrive on their sludge. Beaches themselves are composed of quartz grains plus a small amount of pebble and shell grit. The grains are old and derived from the slow erosion of rocks such as sandstone. So try to preserve the sand. Beaches are constantly reworked by waves and are meant to slope, with dunes starting at the high tide mark. Nature holds the dunes together with tough spinifex grass at the front, pig face and small shrubs in the middle, and small trees like banksia at the back. If you destroy this, as they have at Manly, you can end up with lovely stormwater outlets, rocks and little sand. I will focus on some beaches that still retain some biological diversity, apart from flying rats, gull splat and dog poo. After storms, big brown algae called kelp pile up on the beach and begin to decompose. Kelp, like all plants, are food producers containing the green chlorophyll that uses the energy of sunlight to convert carbon dioxide, water and mineral salts into living tissue. This kelp is a brown algae. Other algae are green, red and brown. They all contain green chlorophyll as well as other pigments. This is red coralline algae. The little green one is sea lettuce. The big brown kelp Aclonia is a modern algae that grows in water depths up to 40 metres, anchoring itself to rocky reefs below the high tide mark. They reproduce by releasing eggs and sperm into the water, which fertilise each other and look for solid surfaces to colonise. These have anchored to 2 sea squirts called Kanjivoi. This one has found some mussel cells. Usually up to 2 metres long, Aclonia has a holdfast, stipe and crinkly blades to catch the sunlight. Some kelp have gas-filled bladders to keep them upright. Underwater kelp forests provide habitat for fish, prawns and seahorses. A veteran diving friend of mine complains that dredging of Botany Bay has destroyed acres of kelp forests and the marine life that they protected. Once the sun comes out, the seaweed warms and begins to rot. Microbes and fungi feed on it, gradually breaking it down to simpler chemicals. If you lift the seaweed, larger animals called sandhoppers or springtails jump around, attempting to avoid the gulls and crabs that like to eat them. The springtails are small crustacea with 10 legs. They eat the marine compost. Another animal is the giant polychaete beachworm, a scavenger that lives in the sand and is attracted by the smell of dead flesh. It can grow up to 3 metres long and up to 5 millimetres thick. This man uses a stocking of rotting fish to attract them, a piece of fish and pliers to grip them. Sand whiting feed on them in the surf zone, and this is why fishermen catch them for bait. Such worms help to clean our beaches. This is a short-tailed shearwater, sometimes called a mutton bird. They breed on coastal islands and travel long distances, skimming the waves with their beaks and snapping up small fish. Unfortunately, they accidentally eat small pieces of plastic and often die due to starvation. You might be able to see two small pale crabs feeding on the carcass on the left. Normally they come out at night and are usually smaller. Beach crabs live in a hole dug in the sand near the high tide mark. They feed on tiny things in the sand and make round sand balls around the hole. The problem is cars driving on beaches to harvest the sand of human rubbish, weed and occasionally needles. They crush the crabs. I first met these crabs at night swimming in Merriweather baths. They are cute, inquisitive and can move very, very fast. Silver gulls are scavengers which search for live or dead animals such as crabs, sandhoppers, Kanjivoi and crinoids. They also feed on chips and human rubbish. They can foul beaches, cars and boats and fly into plane engines. The other seabird is the tern that dives into shoals of fish. Be vigilant for sharks if they are active. Crows are also active beach scavengers. Here one is eating a crinoid and has pecked open a Kanjivoi for its pink flesh. At the high tide mark, rafts of floating pumice have made it ashore after floating thousands of miles from an undersea volcanic eruption. Bluebottles wash around the shallows after being blown in by northeasters. Their long trailing tentacles sting and paralyse small fish. In humans it is painful and can provoke an allergic reaction. Always wash the sting in seawater or warm water. My daughter has found a jellyfish. The tentacles contain stingers, the top does not. They breed in estuaries and migrate to the sea. In tropical Queensland, box jellyfish can kill. Washed up on beaches you will find the floating backbones of cuttlefish. They are intelligent animals hovering in the water, watching you with their big eyes. They have copper-rich blood and usually live just 1 to 2 years. They eat small molluscs, prawns and fish, and other cuttlefish. You often see teeth marks of fish, such as tailor, that have eaten their flesh. Living in the sand and the surf zone are pippy molluscs. They send up a tube, sucking in food and plankton, and cleaning up the beach. Here one has been opened by a fisherman. We would be wise to conserve them. Another type of shell is a mussel clamshell, which people eat. They live in clumps attached to rocks and have hairy coatings. Kanjivoi are primitive chordate animals that have a spinal cord. They live together with kelp at the ends of rock platforms in the surf zone. They feed on plankton by pumping water in and out of their siphons. When you squeeze them, they squirt from 2 openings. The flesh is edible. Sea urchins are echinoderms and some are edible. Many have nasty spines that can enter feet and break off. They move around on tube feet, grazing on algae, plants and dead animals. Crinoids are also echinoderms. They anchor themselves from rocks and wave around their arms in the currents and are able to trap plankton. Barnacles are animals that grow on anything underwater including crinoids and old hats. When underwater, their beaks open and beat the water with feather-like structures to trap plankton. These goose barnacles colonise wood and look like goose beaks. Barnacles slowed down the wooden ships that brought some of our ancestors to Australia. The last storm has brought sponges to shore. When fresh, they have a variety of colours. When dead, they rot and turn to a dull brown. They all have pores to encourage water-containing plankton to move through this colonial animal. Aussie sponges are made of calcite and even harder silica and are not suitable for bathing. These strange plastic-like structures are the eggs of Port Jackson sharks. They are shaped like a spiral. Normally inserted into rock crevices, this one has found its way into a plastic cup. The sharks are bottom feeders with jaws for crushing crabs and shells. Here are two dark ones in the middle. The other dappled sharks are wobbegongs, cranky sharks with lots of teeth and a history of biting humans. They can grow to 2.8 metres long, with a mass of up to 200 kilograms. More shells, anyone?